All right, a couple things I wanted to hit on here this morning. Fernando Tatis Jr. expected to play for the Dominican Republic in the 2026 World Baseball Classic. Obviously, yesterday there was news about Aaron Judge being named the captain for Team USA. So we're starting to hear about the WBC and who is going to be playing or who expects to play and all that. So Tatis here, he was talking to Dennis Lin. Good job from Dennis for getting Tatis to talk about this last night. Um, Tatis confirmed, this is in The Athletic, Monday night, he anticipates he will make his World Baseball Classic debut for the Dominican Republic in 2026. Quote, they haven't made it official, but there's really good talks out there. It's a matter of me staying healthy the rest of the season, putting everything that's more important in front, and then we'll see how that goes. Obviously, last year, or not last year, the last WBC, he didn't play because he was suspended, or else he would have played, I assume, in that WBC. We all know what happened there, and that's what he was saying to Dennis. For me, like, I'm not surprised at all to see Team DR want to have Tatis play. Um, and I'm like, people from the DR, these players from the DR, it's not as important. Maybe it is for some, but for Tatis, for example, he says here, representing the DR, winning the WBC for the Dominican Republic on your chest, that is almost as close as it would be to winning a World Series. That's how much it means to these guys. And here's Tatis with the quote, man, it's just behind winning a World Series. By the way, Fernando Tatis Sr. has been announced as Team DR's hitting coach in the 2026 WBC. Representing my country, playing right next to my Dominican fellows is something that I cherish, something that I always wanted as a kid. Definitely looking forward to it. And I think the natural thing maybe for Padres fans that maybe you don't care about the WBC. You obviously care more about the Padres. And you're like, I actually don't want Manny playing. I don't want Tatis Manny's also expected, by the way, to be playing in the WBC, which not a surprise, obviously. Played in the last one. He's played in multiple. Obviously played in the one in San Diego because there was the Adam Jones home run robbery. But getting back to what I was going to say, these guys, the question, right? Should these guys even be playing? Because you should prioritize being ready to go for the 2026 season, spring training and all that. Remember 2023 and what happened there with the abbreviated spring training because you had a ton of all of your stars playing in the WBC. You had Soto and you had Xander playing, although that was shorter. Nick Martinez a little bit was on Team USA. Obviously, you had Manny. There were a lot of guys. Ha-Seong Kim, right? Or no, I don't think were they in the WBC? I don't think they were. But no, maybe they were. I thought that they were in the Japan slot. I thought they were. Anyway, whatever. You get the point. Um, can you use that as an excuse of like, oh, a slow start or Darvish didn't have his best year and his progress to get ready for the season kind of got a little bit messed up there because he wasn't making consistent starts with Japan because there were other guys obviously in front of Darvish, and Darvish was more of like that veteran leader role and contributed a little bit, but it was not what probably the Padres wanted at that point in time. But for me, even as a Padres fan, of course I care more about the Padres than I do about the WBC. But at the same time, these guys representing their countries, I'm never going to be like, no, don't do that. No, focus on the club. Don't do that. Don't go, this is something that who knows, injuries in a certain year, who knows how many times you're going to have the opportunity to represent your country and possibly go win the World Baseball Classic. And to have Tatis Sr. on the staff and Tatis playing, like that's a moment that they're never going to forget. So I am totally not against this. I'm for it. Obviously, we can be holding our breath when Tatis is playing and when Manny is playing and when any other Padres are playing, whether that's Jackson Merrill for Team USA, which I would love to see him be in center field for Team USA. And you have Judge and right. Harper, would you DH him or would you put him in left? Would you put Merrill in left? Would Merrill be on the bench, coming off the bench? Would he be somewhere else? Mike Trout, DH him. Like, I, I personally, like, for Team USA, that's who I'd be rooting for, obviously. Even with a bunch of Padres on DR, I would love to see that. Cannot wait if that ends up happening. I'm just going to enjoy that as a baseball fan. And if an injury happens, an injury happens. And of course, that's going to suck. But I'm not going to sit here and say these guys should not be representing their countries. Oh, because you should focus in spring training. And especially with the position players. Maybe it's one thing for the pitchers because it's like you need to stay built up. It's not guaranteed. Your starts are not guaranteed at the WBC sometimes. And how long you go, right? That could mess up a little bit there with your progression. But for position players, I am way less like, yeah, don't do that. For pitchers, I'm still like, yeah, go do it. I'm not going to be pissed off with that. But especially with position players, if there's one that I'm going to pick, pitchers or position players who I'd rather be in the WBC, you know, on the Padres, it would be position players. They get at bats anyway. They're going to get, lots of hacks in anyway. And again, representing their country, those environments that they're going to be playing in, that's a pretty darn cool opportunity. Like if I was in that spot, if I was Tatis and my country, representing my country meant that much to me, I wouldn't want my team, my fans to try to stop me from doing that. I know Tatis has an injury history and all that. And for fans that don't care at all about the WBC, obviously I would understand if I'm coming from that lens. I would understand why you wouldn't like this. Because you're like, who cares about the WBC? I'm a Padres fan. Maybe you didn't even watch the WBC. But for me, as someone that does watch the WBC, and I've seen how much it means to some of these players, Tatis, he's played a bunch in winter ball in the Dominican. Remember that the huge bat flip that he had? And with Tatis Sr. as I believe his manager. So when you're doing that, when you don't need to be playing winter ball, but you're doing it anyway, you know how much that means to him and means to some of these guys. So I'm all for it. If an injury happens, an injury happens. But it's a really cool opportunity that he has earned. And so that's going to be pretty cool seeing that. Now, moving to the next thing that I wanted to hit on here, the second and final thing that I wanted to hit on was the Jackson Merrill update that Kevin Acee provided this morning in the San Diego Union Tribune. Jackson Merrill, who is sidelined with a right hamstring strain, is eligible to come off the injured list on Friday. That would be on the road against the Astros. Day off before that. That isn't happening. He has not even begun to jog. That is expected to commence in the next day or two. Merrill will then need at least a few days to progress to running and then sprinting and then being able to change direction. So I look at that and I'm thinking he's not coming back until at least the next homestand that starts, I believe, against the Tampa Bay Rays. Because think about it. Hasn't even started to jog. Next day or two. How long is he going to be jogging for? Is that going to be for a few days? That takes you to the 18th. If, let's say, he jogs tomorrow, 16, 17, 18, is he not going to have a day off? And then how many days of sprinting? Is it another few days? I don't think he's going to need to be, doing rehab. This is just rehab games, I mean. It's about just, being able to run. And then sprint. How many days there? Is that another few days? And then being able to change direction. Maybe if the sprinting, it's going really well, they just go right into changing direction. And they trust Merrill to make that decision. Although he's the ultimate competitor. So maybe they should be precautious here. It's April 15th and the Padres are 14-3. They don't need Jackson Merrill right now. You just don't. You need to prioritize long term right now. So that takes you. It could take this process. It could take going into the Padres homestand. I'm looking up the schedule right now just to see where this would take Merrill if we're going like every couple days, every few days. you're making that next step. The 29th, there's a day off in between the Tampa Bay Rays and Giants series at Petco. So would he come back on the 29th? There's the day off the 28th, come back 29th. If that's the case, then he's 2 weeks away still from coming back. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That would be 11 games. If he returned on the 29th, let's say, that would be 11 games that he would miss further, not including the games he's already missed, but 11 more. But for me, I think I already said this in a previous video or previous show. They have the offense. Clearly, they're showing it to go win games. There are guys that are putting the ball in play, the Schilt ball or grit squat, whatever you want to call it. There are guys that can do this. The center field defense question, I don't know. How many times is it going to be an issue over this stretch? Has it been an issue yet? No. They're 14-3. So obviously the bigger issue would be if Merrill is out long term, if he would have, tried to rush back and come back too early. So let's not do that. Take the time. And the Padres obviously not lucky because they've earned it. And they've capitalized on opportunities that they've been given. But they've earned the situation that they're in, if that makes sense, where the Padres can afford Jackson Merrill to take the time. Same with you, Darvish. Take that time. Make sure you're good. You're 100% coming back. And then you can be good to go, hopefully, for the remainder of the season. So that's the update. I thought at the start of this that maybe Merrill, because they were saying like they were being precautionary, right? Schilt was saying that. Well, think about this. Precautionary with Crony ends up going on the IL. Precautionary with Merrill. And I thought it would be, okay, he'll come back, when the 10 days are up. Because that's what it seemed like the Padres were thinking as well. And he hasn't even begun to jog yet. And we're a few days away from the 18th. So, yeah, just maybe we don't believe everything that, Mike Schultz says about, and also it's these players' bodies, they're Schultz can't tell you what's going to happen a week from now with someone's body or how it's going to feel. So I know it's a guesstimate with what he tells the media right after these injuries, essentially. But yeah, precautionary. I mean, precautionary for like the entire season, but not precautionary in terms of like, yeah, it'll be a few days. We'll give him a few more days and he'll be good. No, it's going to be longer on that process than what I think some Padres fans initially thought. Because it seemed like to me when this happened and then Schilt was talking, it was like, yeah, we're putting him on the IL because we want to have an additional body up here. But yeah, he'll be back pretty much right when he can come off the IL. We're just giving him some extra time on this, and we can have Oscar Gonzalez come up, and not play a man down like that. But yeah, hasn't even begun to jog. The update earlier, I think a few days ago, was that he was just doing some pool work. So if he hasn't begun to jog, I assume he hasn't been doing baseball activity either, like swinging a bat or anything. And so, you can tack on probably a little bit more time as well once he gets. Now, I'm not saying he's only going to be running and not doing anything else. I'm sure that they can add that in there as this progresses. But, looking at this update, it's not great, but it's also definitely not the worst thing in the world because it seems like he could come back end of April, maybe beginning of May. And that's totally fine with me when they're 14-3 and they're finding ways to win games without Jackson Merrill. It would be one thing if they weren't, but then at the same time, it is a long season. And yeah, every one of these games matter, but here's the thing, again, they're winning almost all of these games that matter. So without him. And coming up, the Astros are not the same Astros that they were for years. It's not the same. It's not the same team. Detroit Tigers, we'll see. It's a talented group for sure, but like the Tampa Bay Rays at home, I don't think they've been super impressive. Giants will be interesting though. So it's kind of like up down with on paper the schedule coming up. So that's what I've got here today. Actually, a quick Darvish update. I don't really have much to add, but just wanted to tell you the update in case you missed it from Kevin. Darvish threw a few more pitches and threw a little harder on Monday in his second bullpen session in 3 days. It still was not full intensity, and the catcher was not kneeling, which um, that was the same thing the first bullpen. Darvish was shut down in mid-March with elbow discomfort. A mid-May return seems possible, but the Padres have not set a timeline and are following the 38-year-old Darvish's lead on his rehab. So trusting him, not pushing him, which it's like Merrill. You don't need to push him. Don't push him. You've got Pavetta, you've got King. Cease, I think, did a little bit better last night. You've got Vasquez, you've got Kyle Hart. You've got guys that have put together quality outings for this Padres team in this rotation, and then you've got a lockdown bullpen so far.